What is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and of course, I'm coming at you guys because we're going to be talking about Melffy. The Melffy archetype, at the time of this recording, is officially released here in TCG, and a lot of players are probably stoked for Rise of the Duelist. I'm personally am kind of just because I'm focusing on the Melffy engine itself, and just the fact that a lot of other cards are going to be very expensive at this time. Now, if you do want to play Melffy, there is a lot of variations that are still going around, but I'm more so focusing on Melffy with their Beast engine. Now, I have a Tri-Brigade variation that's going to be updated for the month of August, and I am still working out a lot of the variations that can easily be built with this archetype. So there's some cards I'll mention just for in case you guys do want to take advantage of those. But for the most part, we're going to stick to the Melffy Beast beat that I built for you guys. So without further ado, let's take a look at it. 3 copies of Rescue Cat, 3 copies of Nimble Beaver, and then 3 copies of Melffy Puppy, 2 copies of Melffy Kitty, 2 copies of Melffy Funny, 2 copies of Valor Fawn, the mystical beast of the forest, 2 copies of Calentosa, the mystical beast of the forest, 1 X-Saber Airbolem, 1 Mind Mole, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Rings, and 3 Effect Veiler. Let's look at these spell cards. 3 copies of Obedience Schooled, 3 copies of Melffy Hide and Seek, 3 copies of Melffy Tag, 3 copies of Call by the Grave. Then for the trap cards, 3 copies of Infinity Impermanence. For the extra deck, we have 2 copies of Missus Radiant, 1 copy of Kriston Queen Fibrix, 1 copy of Celine, the Queen of Master Magicians, 1 copy of Excess Code Talker, 3 copies of Melffy of the Forest, 2 copies of Melffy Memi, 2 copies of number 64, Ronin Raccoon Sendayu, 1 copy of Sky Chivalry Canon. I'm sorry, Centauria, and then 1 Nateria Beast, 1 Nateria Barkion. So, the whole setup of this deck is, of course, it's going to focus on its beast monsters and the summon of beast cards, as well as, massive extends and stuff like that. For the most part, here's your tidbits of it. Melffy Puppy allows you to summon any level 2 or lower beast monster from your deck when this card is returned from your field to your hand. So this is sequentially one of your big startups. But in terms of just, on-field play, your bigger startups come from cards like Rescue Cat, who's going to tribute itself to summon 2 level 3 or lower beast monsters from your deck. Although their effects are negated, you got tuners, you got a whole lot of non-tuners, and you have a whole lot of range that Rescue Cat can help get onto the field. Thankfully, Rescue Cat is back, because otherwise this would be kind of just bland. But Rescue Cat gives so much advantage to this. It's really amazing card. Then we have 3 copies of Nimble Beaver. Now, Beaver only really fits in because it's a beast type monster. If Beaver was Earth, it'd probably have a little bit more wage. But for the most part, Nimble Beaver is just here to help you get into some extended link plays, some extended monster plays, and just get into a lot of other combo that require multiple monsters to be on the field. Now, let's move on from this card and let's talk about the next monster. And I did forget these two, but Melffy Catty just is a searcher for beast monsters and adding them from your deck to your hand. And then Melffy Funny is a special summoner as well for any beast monster that is in your hand. So you have a summoner and a searcher, and another searcher from the Melffy. Then we have Valor Fawn, who can specify any level 2 or lower beast monster from the graveyard by simply discarding 1 card from your hand. Either placing that monster face up attack position or placing it in face down defense position. Then we have Calentosa. Calentosa, when such summoned by the face of a beast type monster, destroys any card on the field. So that's a great way to clear out a lot of problematic cards. You can throw in Twin Twisters and stuff like that if it does help with the range of stuff that you want to get rid of, if that ever becomes the case. Then I am running through one copy of Arabellum in Mind Mold. These two, like I said, help get into Beast or Barkion. You have Mind Mold, who's a level 2/3, so you'll need a monster like Valenderfon to help get into 5. You can go get Mind Mold and X-Saber Arabellum, Synchro into Barkion, and bam, you have your 3. There is a lot of range within the tuners because of cards like Obedience School, which does help you get into your massive plays of monsters. But we do have cards that can extend a lot of plays thanks to cards like Rescue Cat. Then we go into the hand traps. We have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs, because of course we gotta stop those cards that are trying to add cards from the deck to the hand. That's summon monsters from the deck, or send cards from the deck to the graveyard. Effect Veiler is here for 2 reasons. An extension to where if you can't draw an Infinity Impermanence, you have Effect Veiler. Also, to help with the link up from Holly Quifabrix all the way into Excel Code Talker, thanks to Celine and being the target for Celine herself. So, yeah, we do have that range there. If this is something that you want to invest in terms of climbing up that ladder, then 3 copies of Obedience School, another way to swarm the field and go into massive plays. You have Melffy, Hide and Seek. So this is a Pot of Avarice and a 1-turn protection for your beast monsters from being destroyed by card effects. Then we have 3 copies of Melffy Tag. Melffy Tag is going to be here to help do some extensions so where you can get more Melffy monsters from the graveyard onto the field. You have 3 copies of Call by the Grave. This card is going to be very useful. Banishing cards that are going to be targeted by your opponent, monsters in your opponent's graveyard are going to be targeted through other effects. Dealing with hand traps, and just a way to fluctuate a lot of control when you need to deal with a lot of your opponent's nasty monsters. The last card in the main deck is Infinity Impermanence, and this is simply just here to help deal with the first turn. This does seem very second turn oriented, so if you're not a big second turn player, this might not be the best of builds for you. But the thing is, Infinity Impermanence is a great card whether you go first or second, because it has so many different things that it can do to help you deal with a lot of your opponent's cards, and especially nasty monster effects that you don't really have much answer to in case you can't get to Ash Blossom, you can't get to Effect Veiler. Now, as far as the extra that goes, let's just get the link climb out the way. How Quifabrix is something that you're going to make by at least getting a tuner or someone onto the field. You link climb from Quifabrix to get into Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler will help you get Celine. Celine will help you get Access Code Talker, and you have a big beat stick on the board. Then you have 2 copies of Mrs. Radiant, which I felt needed to be in this deck for some extra oomph, so a lot of your monsters could have some additional attack and defense attached to them. We have the 3 copies of Melffy of the Forest, very defensive card, very helpful searcher, and a lot of your defense is going to come for this. Within times, defense can be the greatest offense. So there you go. We have 2 copies of Melffy Mommy. Mommy is primarily just here as another defensive wall, and the more cards that you stack on top of her, the more defensive she can get, and she can be very potent as well. 2 copies of Sendayu. Sendayu makes these tokens. These tokens are going to have a lot of attack attached to them, and just helps getting a lot of beat sticks onto the board. And very accessible because of all these beast monsters in deck. I do have Sky Chevalier, Centaria, just as an additional link too. It can't be destroyed by battle while it has its material. During the damage step, discard battles an opponent's monster. You detach material from itself, and then return a monster your opponent controls back to their hand. So you can easily get rid of some threats there. Now, last but not least, of course, Nateria Beast, Nateria Barkion. Barkion to deal with traps, Nat Beast to deal with spells. And at a point, you're really not going to care if you lose many of your cards through Banish or through mill because most of them can reoccur themselves and add themselves to the hand, and you do have a lot of good support cards to help get a lot of those cards back. So, um, the other options that I did want to just express is if you're not wanting to build a pure beast variation, of course, we do have the Tri Brigade that will be very useful because of their orientations with Beast, Beast Warrior, and or Winged Beast. And I actually do enjoy the combination between Melffy and the Tri Brigade. There is Melffy Playhouse, which is a sequential trap. It doesn't really do much except for bounce and then increase a monster's attack by 500. The only downside is you attach all the material from all your beast type exceed monsters that you control to bounce those cards back. So yeah, that's like the only downside. At least mommy can add cards to herself, so you're not too worried there. If you can't get access code Talker and you're having some struggles there, there is Barrel Load Dragon just for another link climb. And barrel load can stat your opponent's monster, and you can do whatever you want to with it. Some optional exceed monsters, of course, are Cat Shark, because it's a beast monster. But this primarily works with water, which is also funny because you're running Nimble Beaver to actually help enhance that. And then you have Masquerade Kitty, or Masquerade Cat, sorry, I say Kitty, but Cat, Kitty, same thing. And you just have another option for another beast type monster. Some other additional support cards you can play around with are Hop Ear, Squadron, because if you want to play cards like um, the Herald of Pure Light, and drop that into the extra deck and take some advantage of that. You have Pumpoku and Tantan for some more beasts set up. And that's pretty much about it. The only other card is the OCG current card, which is Excited Melffy, which this card is going to be crazy when it comes because this just makes all your Melffy monsters attack directly. They may not have much attack, but if you can stack some damage on some attack power onto them, yes they can. So that pretty much just rounds out the deck profile itself, and I hope you all do enjoy it. So please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell so you guys can be informed of when I do upload more content. Check out the social media links below so you guys can interact with me there on social media. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. HPJ signing out. Take care.